Hey, I'm Daniel. Welcome back to Lip TV. Today, we're here with Skin Diamond. She's one of the most popular adult film actresses in the world. Skin, so happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
That's kind of like a weird intro, right? Isn't it? Are you used to hearing that?
I'm pretty much used to it now. I mean, I've been in the industry for almost 5 years now, so.
That's a while, even in terms of people in your industry, right? 5 years.
Yeah. There's usually the rate in which girls kind of go through porn is very fast. A lot of girls will only be in it for a year or two.
Right. Well, and I was reading that when I was doing some of my research, and one thing that kept coming up is this perception that girls who go into the industry always come from negative experiences at home, or they have a lot of bad things happening to them. But you seem like you had a pretty good upbringing.
Yeah, my parents were missionaries, and that's why we moved to Scotland. So I lived in Scotland for 20 years, and I was the crazy one in the family. I still am. But no, I was very well brought up, and we grew up poor, but I wasn't abused or anything. It wasn't like, I was bullied in school, but I think that's kind of normal.
It's pretty normal.
Yeah, I was always a little quirky and a little independent, and I became very sexually aware at a young age. So.
And naturally that leads to modeling. So a lot of girls want to model, and it's something to make you feel good about your body. Mm-hmm. And so you started off doing some things, Louis Vuitton, American Apparel, right?
Yeah, I initially started out doing like softcore, like kind of Playboy style, but it was all alternative. I had pink hair and tattoos, and then I started doing a lot of fetish modeling because I started hanging out at fetish clubs in London and became completely immersed in that world. I love latex clothing. It's so awesome. So I started doing that, and the kind of photos I was taking were all very artistic and like fashion-y, but just, in risque clothing or none at all. And and then I ended up just through sheer luck, I guess, I ended up posing for Louis Vuitton in ID magazine, which I think they might have gotten in trouble for, because I don't think they knew that it was going to be like on the adult side of models that were being used. But the pictures were awesome, and yeah, I've been very lucky.
Well, so even when you're doing like this fetish stuff that's kind of softcore, obviously you have a pretty strong Christian family, so what's going on at home when that stuff's happening?
My parents and I we get on great. My parents are very open-minded, and they're non-judgmental, which I think is how Christians should be. You shouldn't be judging people on their life choices. Obviously, it's not the job that they would have picked for me, yeah. but they're really cool about it. In fact, my Penthouse cover just came out, and my mom called me to tell me that they had they would like searched for it everywhere.
Oh, my baby's on Penthouse.
She's so funny. She'll be like looking at my pictures on the website and be like, oh, you've got some clothes on there. Well, that's good. I can show that to somebody.
So you moved to LA, and you start actually, now you're getting into the industry for real. You're finally getting into it, right? Yeah,
I've been in it for like 5 years, because I modeled for a while before. I was an adult model, but yeah, it's been a crazy experience. I've done a lot of crazy shit.
Oh, we know. Just leave this YouTube window, go to Google, and check her out. But so you get to LA, and you start getting into the industry, and it becomes your job, right? So I'm curious, when you're in the sex industry and you wake up every day, is it just like going to a regular 9 to 5? Like what do you do on a normal day when you wake up? Do you have like a workout routine, and you get ready to go to work, and how's it happen?
I'm not a morning person, so I don't do that. But I usually have to get up early, depending on what kind of scene I'm doing. I'll have to prepare for it. Sometimes, like if I'm getting my makeup done there, I just have to make sure that I'm all fresh and clean and stuff. And then there's a call time, and you have to be out of makeup at this time, and then you have to take pictures. So it is a job, People think that you just show up whenever and then just lie there and have sex and then it's done. But there's actually a lot that goes into it, and it's very tiring. We're basically sexual athletes, so you have to keep fit.
Exactly.
You have to, if you're not eating right, then you're going to be getting sick a lot, because it's a lot of things going on to your immune system that's trying to
get it, like work its way in.
Yeah, so you have to make sure to be really healthy, eat right. You need to stretch certain scenes. If I'm doing bondage scenes, for example, I'll have to stretch beforehand because when you're in bondage, it looks easy, but it's not.
How long do you have to be hanging upside down for the blood to completely leave your limbs and you feel like a sausage?
Well, usually, I mean, when you're working with a professional dom, it's usually like 15 minutes at the most, because there's a lot of communication going on. As soon as I feel something starting to tingle, I let them know so that they know, okay, we have like 5 minutes to finish before we have to get her out. And depending on the positioning, like if I'm upside down, I actually like being upside down because it kind of makes the blood go to your head, gives you a different kind of sensation. But yeah, it's really fun, but it's very hard work.
So definitely there are times when like you enjoy your work, but it's not easy, and sometimes it's probably not fun either.
Well, I mean, like with any job, you're gonna have good days and bad days. But for the most part, I have a lot of fun with it. But there are certain days where I'll show up and be like, oh, okay, now I have to really use something in here to make myself like this person. Like, cause you know, I don't work with people that are always my type.
Interesting. So well, first of all, what is your type? Guys, take notes. What is your type?
I mean, I'm bisexual, but with girls, I usually like kind of crazy ones, and with guys, I like really down-to-earth guys. I don't like bros.
You don't like bros?
Yeah, and unfortunately there are a lot of bros in porn. So, I mean, they're fun to have sex with, but I wouldn't like date them or anything. Interesting.
Well, actually that leads to a question I think a lot of people wonder, and they never get a chance to ask. If you're having sex with different guys, is there ever an emotional attachment? Do you ever feel like, wow, I like this person, I like working with them, but actually kind of feeling them, I like them?
I mean, there has been in the BDSM world, because that's what I'm most into, is the kinky shit. But I've had a few masters that I met because they dommed me in a scene, and then we ended up having a connection, and I was full-time submissive for a while.
Is that the same thing? I mean, does that qualify as like in a relationship because I'm a full-time submissive?
It's a relationship of sorts. It's a little bit more complicated than the regular relationship, because depending on the rules that you have to follow, like certain doms are going to be different. Some are going to be more stern. Some are going to be a little bit more playful. So it depends. I've been collared by one dominatrix and 2 doms.
So there are rules like what would be some examples of rules that a dom would give you? Like,
for example, my longest DS relationship, it was actually a long distance, so I had to report into him several times a day. If I wanted to go on a date with a dude, then I had to get his permission first. If I was out and he messaged me, he was like, go into the bathroom right now and masturbate and send me a video, and if you don't do it in 5 minutes, you'll get punished. Like, I'd have to do that. But it's fun. Like, for me, I was completely obsessed with that lifestyle. If you've ever heard of the book Story of O, it goes into that a lot. And I did slave training at kink.com, and that was what really was, oh my God, it's so fun.
There was a whole world out there that you didn't even know existed.
Yeah, because like, you know, there was slave positions, so if your dom was to say position 3, then you'd have to get into position 3 immediately. Some of the duties that I did was polishing boots and making sure everything's perfect and getting him his drink, but then it was all very sexualized. So it wasn't just like, you know, being someone's servant, even though it kind of was. It's hard to explain the dynamic, but it's when you're into it and you're living that, it's really, really, really arousing.
Is that something that you go in and out of, or is it something that's consistent for you? So if are you only in relationships that are like DS, or are you all over the map kind of?
It depends on what I'm feeling. Right now I'm not in a DS relationship, I'm just in a regular dating relationship, but I still really like the kinky stuff.
That's cool. So I guess I'm kind of curious on you're on the set, you clock in, you know, I'm here, I'm ready to work, and what happens on a typical day on set, from the time you get there to the time you leave? What type of preparation goes into making sure that you're your best, mentally especially?
Well, it really depends, because it depends on the scene. Like if it's a feature movie, then I'm going to be sitting around a lot, because it's like
hurry up and wait.
Yeah, hurry up and wait. It's very much that idea. Whereas when it's a gonzo scene, gonzo is basically no script, no setup. It's just people having sex, which is usually like what you see most of the time when you're watching porn these days. And that's kind of very much a wham bam, thank you ma'am. I just like, for me anyway, I kind of like keep to myself until we actually start. And then like it kind of naturally comes out, the energy I pull out of wherever. But I mean, other people, they like to really get to know the person beforehand. I mean, I like to talk, obviously you have to talk to the people and kind of get a rapport going and find out what you like. There are certain, like, if you're really good, then you'll know, and if you're doming someone, then you have to know what you can't do. Because you don't want to like be in a scene and then go to hit somebody a certain way and they're like, no, I don't do that. You have to find out all these things beforehand so that the scene, you can just shoot it and it runs really smoothly. And especially in the hardcore stuff, you have to know, and you have to know what not to do, and everybody day to day is different. Like certain days I'd be like, oh, don't slap me in the face because I'm really not in the mood for that today. Or, don't spit in my eyes because I'm wearing my contacts, or stuff like that. But it always depends. My limits, they kind of vary depending on my mood.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, but that's how people are in everyday life. Anyway.
Exactly, yeah. That's exactly it.
I was reading some of your interviews online, and you're a pretty big marijuana advocate.
I do like the weed.
Well, we're in California, it's okay. You don't have to be. But I want to know, do you think marijuana makes sex better?
I think it can. I'm not like religiously a pot smoker in that sense.
Oh, I've seen your Instagram.
Especially for anal scenes, I like smoking beforehand, just because, it helps relax the areas.
I am getting so many little tidbits from this.
Yeah.
Well, is that a big thing in the industry, though? Do you see a lot of people, are they lighting up before scenes? Is that how it happens?
There are definitely quite a few actors that like to smoke before scenes, just because I think it helps take away the anxiety that can come from being on a set surrounded by people watching. I mean, it's like a set like this, there's
right.
people everywhere, and then you have to
perform.
Get strong, well, for the men.
Well, and for you, how do you stay continually aroused? If it's like a 6-hour shoot, I mean, that's got to be really rough on your body, plus mentally. I mean, I know you can use like lube and things like that, but how do you keep aroused enough to keep going?
Well, I think that's what separates the top people in the industry and the bottom people, because the top people in the industry, usually you have to have a really, really huge sexual appetite to really be successful, because you have to be able to go for a really long time, and it's a lot, like I said earlier, it's a lot harder than it looks to force yourself to be turned on sometimes. Because I mean, sometimes you wake up and you're not in the mood to have sex, but you still have to go do it because you've been booked, and you can't just call in sick and be an asshole, because then it ruins everybody's day.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to just like find it within yourself, and luckily I have a very high sexual appetite, so
you gotta dig deep.
Yeah.
So is that something that that happens a lot, where you'll get on set and you're kind of ready to go, and then production difficulties happen that make the time push over? Like, what happens when a performer can't show up?
Well, then they usually either get replaced or the scene has to get canceled.
Now, I would assume that it's easier to replace a guy than a girl, right?
Yes, but I mean, it depends. Girls can be a little flaky, but if you go to the right agent, then he'll have girls on call kind of for you. So.
Yeah, we'll talk about that for a minute, because you're with Spiegler, right? Mm-hmm. And I've heard a lot of good things about Mark, and I just want to know kind of, how does that relationship work between you and a manager, and how does a girl kind of come into the industry and find someone that they can trust? Because I feel like there's a lot of people taking advantage of young girls in the industry. Well,
there are girls that are getting taken advantage of, but luckily I did my research when I first got into the industry, and I asked around because I knew a few performers, and so I asked like, who do you think is the best agent, whatever, and Spiegler's name came up a few times, and so I actually contacted him twice, I think, before he replied. And he tests girls too, like, because that's why Spiegler girls are on another level than the others, because you have to be reliable, you have to do your job whenever, you know, I mean, obviously there's exceptions, like if you actually have the flu or something, but you know, Spiegler girls tend to be a lot more professional than some of the other girls. But not to say that the other girls are unprofessional or anything like that, but you know, there's a reason why Mark only takes up to 25 girls at a time, because he wants the best of the best.
Yeah, and I've noticed that. I mean, I know you, Asa, Kira, a bunch of other different people too. And so I'm actually kind of wondering, what's the life cycle there? I mean, you say only takes up to 25 at a time. So how often, what's the turnover, you know?
I mean, his top girls have usually been around for a few years or whatever, but he's, every few months maybe he'll take on some new girls, because he also takes girls from out of town, like girls will come in from Europe for like 3 months. And,
Right.
And then so they're only there for 3 months, and then they go back home.
They'll just do like almost like a seasonal thing.
Yeah.
Like, you're in town for a season, we'll do a shoot or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's talk a little bit about, I guess this is something that happened around 2012, Measure B, which you know about.
Too well.
Too well, and it's really affected the kind of work in the industry in Los Angeles County. So for anyone who doesn't know, Measure B is basically a law that was passed by the mayor of Los Angeles that said that adult entertainment professionals must use protection. They must use condoms, and this is a big deal. A lot of it was positioned as a way to protect adult entertainers, but that's not really what a lot of the actors are saying. And so I just want to get your take on this.
Here's the problem with condoms. This is one of my main issues. Condoms are designed, well, let me start over. The average time that a person is having sex is usually not very long. It's like between 6 to 10 minutes. You know, that's on average, like people that are using condoms a lot. When you're on set shooting a porno, you're having sex for like up to an hour, and it's not slow vanilla sex. It's usually like bam, bam, bam. You're really going through it. And condoms just, they chafe, which leads to open sores, which actually makes the situation worse, because then you have blood transfer, and that's usually where the problems arise.
I want to read a quote that you said, on kind of that tip. You said, there are serious health risks in many sports. For example, the UFC, where men fight and bleed on each other regularly. They get tested, but you don't see them fighting with various protections against diseases, do you? There would be an uproar, but when it comes to sex, everyone pussyfoots around the subject, and it's maddening. It
is, because it's like, we are choosing to do this. It's not, I think that a lot of people like to think that pornography, especially women in porn, are like these poor little misguided, we just don't know anything and we don't know better, but it's you can't judge an entire industry by a few people. That's, you know, stereotypes exist for a reason, but you wouldn't, that's like saying the same thing about, like, I don't know, like getting into racial stereotypes or whatever. Not all porn girls are crazy drug addicts that don't know better.
Right.
There are some of the strongest and smartest women that I've ever met have been in porn. And I think that we would know more about what's safe for us. I mean, when you look at statistics, especially, the amount of disease transference in porn as opposed to in regular life it's like night and day, you
really?
know?
Talk to me
because
about that.
I mean, we get tested so much that if something were, God forbid, to happen, we pick it up like that and deal with it. But most people that, you know, they're not getting tested every 14 days. They'll get tested like once a year, maybe, if you're lucky. So think about all of the people, if they're not using protection, of course they're going to be spreading all these diseases, but because we catch it so quickly, if something does happen, then we know right away. We're very, very safe, I think.
Well, also in general, you have a group of people who, since their livelihood is their ability to, have sex, they're going to be not only careful with their own bodies, but conscientious of the actors and the friends around them, right?
Yeah, I mean, and there's certain, just like with any job where you're putting yourself at risk in some way, there's going to be certain routines that you do to help protect you against that. Like, I mean, my hygiene routine before and after shooting is very extensive.
What is it?
Well, one of the secrets that I've been, well, it's not really a secret, but
Not anymore.
use there's a antibacterial, antimicrobial soap that I use that kills everything.
What's the? I mean, I don't know if you.
Hibiclens.
Hibiclens.
And you can buy it at any drugstore, and it's what I think nurses use it, and it's like a very, very effective soap that just gets rid of everything. And then there's different like ways that you can clean yourself out inside to make sure that everything. There's like little tricks like pee after sex. I know that sounds weird, but like all these little things, it helps protect you against, God forbid, catching something. And I mean, knock on wood, I've always been very, very lucky in that. But that I haven't really.
There's no wood
anything
down there, by the way, just so you know.
Yeah, I know. I'm just knocking on whatever. I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of steps that we take to protect ourselves, and the whole condom thing, honestly, it's a political agenda. Let's just say that and leave it at that.
Well, I think a couple things. I think one, there's definitely still vestiges of like Christianity that kind of create a stronghold on the country.
Yeah, people like to think that. I think people like to think that sex is so dirty and wrong, and they're trying to protect people against this dirty, wrong thing. But it's only dirty and wrong if you're doing it wrong. Like if you're gonna be like a crazy slut and just sleep with a bunch of people and not shower and, not ever use protection or get tested, then yes, of course, that's really stupid and you shouldn't do that. But pornographers, our business is sex. So I think that we would know how to protect ourselves more than the average Joe. And I think that people like to think that they're helping in some way. I don't know. It's like a big can of worms.
Well, that's a good point. And I don't want to like get you all like riled up about it. But that's a good point because sex for you is a business, and I think a lot of people are really curious. How much money is there to be made as an actress or as a producer or a director in the industry? What, as comfortable as you are with that topic, how much money can you make?
I mean, it depends. The money in porn has been dwindling over the years. It's definitely not like it used to be, even since I've been in, and I've been in for like 5 years. But because of piracy and the whole condom laws, which is it's scaring a lot of people to shoot. I mean, there's so much drama that comes with it. It's not just the condom thing. Like, they want to propose that people will have to wear like goggles. And like if I were to do a scene with a girl where I was performing oral sex on a woman, then I would have to put a dental dam over her pussy and lick through, which, who wants to see that?
This is turning me on.
I mean, unless you're into medical fetishes, I guess. But it's a whole
So
thing.
that's making the revenue drop in the industry?
I mean, it's definitely hindering, just because a lot of people they don't want to shoot as much because they're scared of having to go to jail for not shooting with condoms.
Well, give us an idea on like it doesn't have to be yours, but like the average lifestyle of an actor or an actress in the industry. How much money are they making? Like how are they living? Are you a millionaire? Are you super broke and struggling? Like what's the deal?
I mean, I'm no millionaire, but I mean, the average girl who's working a lot can make anything up to 10 grand a month, more than that.
That's pretty good.
But
what's a lot? How much is a lot?
A lot. It depends on rates and stuff, but I would say probably about like 15 grand a month.
But I mean, like how many days a week would that be working?
That's working maybe like 10, 12 times a month.
A couple shoots
maybe.
a week then?
Yeah, like a few shoots a week. Okay. I usually shoot like 2 to 3 times a week, and I travel a lot too, so.
Well, that actually kind of begs the question, it's it's definitely there's a timeline on the industry. So you've been here for 5 years. You already know you're lucky to be here.
Yes.
So then, how much longer do you see yourself going?
I mean, it's hard to say.
How long do you want to go?
I would say like maybe another year or two or something.
Year or two?
Well, I mean, I don't want to start doing MILF porn. Not that there's anything wrong with MILF porn. I know a lot of really hot and sexy MILFs, but I don't want to watch myself age on camera.
You're so vain.
I want to just stay young forever.
I'm immortalized. So then, what's the natural transition like? I know, Sasha Grey's writing books now. I know Akira, she's directing stuff now. So what about you?
Well, I don't want to give too much away. I actually just directed my first movie with Deviant Entertainment, which will be coming out in a few months, which is really exciting because it was cool being able to just do whatever the hell I wanted. And I did this kind of weird dollhouse theme where the girls are dolls and they come to life when they get fucked with.
That seems I don't know why that seems really appropriate for you.
Yeah, it was, well, because there's this artist that I'm a huge fan of called Trevor Brown, and he depicts dolls a lot, and they're usually like really fucked up looking, like with bruises and medical play, and it's a little twisted, but I really like it, and so I wanted to do something kind of inspired by that. So I had a Lolita doll, and then I had this other girl who was my sex doll, and she had like big fake boobs and stuff, which looked great. Oh my God, it looks so good. And then I had a fetish doll, and then I was like the weird doll. I don't know what I was, but it was really fun. It was really sick. I'm very excited to reveal it to the world.
I will be buying that immediately. So is that kind of like the natural transition for you? It's like, okay, I'm leaving acting and I still want to have a hand in the industry, but I want to do other things, or are you going to completely leave?
Kind of. I just kind of wanted to direct just because I thought it would be fun, and I was given the opportunity, and I'd never really seen myself as a director before, but I was given this opportunity and just thought, fuck it, I'll just do it and see if I like it. And I actually really enjoyed it, so maybe I'll be directing more in the future, but I'm also getting into acting and stuff too. I don't want to give too much away, but I will be playing a lead role in a mainstream movie.
Excellent. Yeah, that's
that
one
I'm
thing.
shooting in a few months.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that quickly. I mentioned to some friends, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm interviewing Skin Diamond. They're like, oh, I know Skin Diamond. I like her work, and that's not even the normal. Like that's a very contemporary, like modern reaction, because people are regarding adult film stars as regular entertainers. Like, oh yeah, I know Skin Diamond. I like her work.
I think social media has helped that a lot because it allows the fans to see us in our everyday lives. As people, yeah. I mean, my Instagram, obviously, I cannot post anything risque on Instagram because I've been deleted twice.
Your Twitter's pretty messed up. Yeah,
but that's Twitter. Mm-hmm. I can post whatever hell I want on there. But yeah, like I talk about my cats a lot. I'm a big Doctor Who fan, and so I've actually gotten more fans because of like the geeky things that I'm into.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I think that actually probably helps you to ease the mainstream transition too, right?
Yeah, and I think that doors have definitely been opening due to Sasha Grey going mainstream, and then mainstream singers especially have been getting so crazy these days that it's kind of like, well, if it can go, if the pop stars, the most famous pop stars like Miley Cyrus, she does all this crazy shit on stage with like inflatable penises and stuff, and everyone's like, oh my God, but at the same time it's kind of opening it to go the other direction as well, because mainstream people are really owning their sexuality. Rihanna as well, for example, she doesn't give a shit. She's just did that cover topless, which is awesome. She looks so hot, and it's really helping people realize that sex isn't as horribly wrong as maybe we've been led to believe due to things like religion and things like that.
God bless you, Miley and Rihanna. Thank you for leading the way.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to realize that sex isn't bad. When you villainize something, it just makes it more appealing, and then people don't know how to do it properly and safely, and that's where problems come, because people, they'll have these weird sexual urges that they're suppressing because they've been told their whole lives that it's wrong to want to get tied up and spanked, and the only type of people that are into that are like fucked in the head some way. And I'm like, hey, I'm super Christian background, like really, you know, level-headed. Okay, I was a little wild when I was a teenager, but I am so into all that stuff. And like you don't. Yeah, I'm rambling.
It gets bottled up, and then you have like pastors molesting dozens of kids.
Exactly, like, or you have these guys that are into really rough sex, and then they end up going out and raping someone because they have no outlet. But if you're playing in a DS way and you're getting all of these urges out in a safe, consensual environment with safe words and with like-minded people, like there are a lot of girls that are into some pretty crazy, obscure sex, and they're ashamed of it, and it's really sad. But I don't know. I think you should just embrace your urges.
Well, two things I want to know as we close up. One, what's your safe word?
Well, the safe word that I usually use at kink is red. So I just use that because I've been using it for years. Red. Yeah. And that's like a safe word that is used when you just want it to completely stop, and then the dom will check in with you and be like, is everything okay? And sometimes it can be something really simple, like this rope is pinching a nerve right here and it feels weird, and they'll just, you know, adjust it and keep going. Or, you know, sometimes like there will be like a trigger word that someone will use that kind of like makes you feel weird. And you're like, oh, just don't say that word and just call me a dirty whore instead. And
so much depth.
It's very interesting.
Well, and I guess this is another question, kind of plays off that. What would you say is your biggest fear?
My biggest fear? Mm-hmm. Sexual or just whatever?
Just, you know, in your personal life, just in everyday life. It could be sexual, but.
I mean, I'm really scared of the ocean. Not like just the deep part, because I don't know what's down there. You don't know what's down there. There could be a lot of crazy crap in the ocean that we don't. I mean, I just saw this thing recently about a great white shark that had a thing, like it had like a little thing on its back, and they recorded something pulling it down. What could have eaten a great white shark?
I think that is the perfect place to leave the audience. What could have eaten a great white shark?
What?
I have no idea. What? Skin, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And guys, I encourage you to leave your biggest fear in the comments. I doubt it's any bigger than Skins could ever be. I appreciate you. I'm Daniel. This is The Lip TV. See you soon.